Northwest Liberty News, picking the lock on the shackles of tyranny.
Machines are gonna fail, and the system's gonna fail.
The past is past, the future's now.
Don't look at me, I think these people are completely nuts.
Sometimes trouble just follows a man.
There's another organism on this planet that follows the same pattern. You know what it is? A virus.
Can't you stop your lips from flapping for 2 minutes?
Because I'm white.
I'm a man. I'm sensitive. I need to feel loved. I need to be desired.
I'm rapping this is coming in a big underground succession.
It's a question of methods. Everybody wants results, but nobody wants to do what they have to do.
And now, coming to you live from Kalispell, Montana, brought to you by Northwest Liberty News, it's Montana Gazette Radio with your host, James White. Okay, so I'm your host, James White. This is Montana Gazette Radio. Thanks for joining me here on this 29th day of December 2020. If you're tuning in earlier to the interview with Mark and Terry, you realize I had a tremendous amount of technical difficulties with that broadcast. Don't know why. Seems it's the second time that we've had weird things happen when they've come on the show. They're really dishing out a lot of great information with evidence and documentation proving the criminality, really, of the family court system there in Kentucky, and perhaps they don't want that information out. I'm quite certain they don't. But are they meddling in our broadcast? You know, who knows these days with what's going on. But we're here, hopefully coming through loud and clear now. If you're in the chat room there, you can throw in let me know if I'm coming through okay. I'd appreciate that. The levels look okay to me on this end here. But if I can get a 5x5, that'd be great. I appreciate you so much joining me here today on the broadcast. If everything's working properly, we should be simulcasting on multiple different platforms now. And we will hopefully be expanding. We actually have been putting got a channel there on Rumble, and going to be putting these videos and uploading. I'm actually doing a mass amounts of uploading today. It takes an awful long time to upload to Rumble. That's one of the things I like about YouTube, despite the fact that, you know, of all the other things of everything that they've done that I've cataloged here in the show before, as far as reducing my views, the fact that I can broadcast live and it's automatically archived is certainly a bonus. So I'm just going to continue to move forward until as long as I'm allowed to, I guess, as long as they continue to keep my channel going. And I'm going to expand to other platforms, and Gab and also Parler have been putting some stuff on there already. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me here today. We're going to be discussing what's going on here in Montana, and it seems to me this whole con job that has been played on here, this medical tyranny, medical con that's been perpetrated on the public here in 2020. It appears as though it may be becoming unraveled. I'm going to talk about that today, and there's been bombshell news that's just published here on Montana Daily Gazette here just last night. We're going to hit those topics and more here on the show. Appreciate you joining us here. If you want to support us, you can go to MontanaDailyGazette.com. It's MontanaDailyGazette.com, Montana Gazette Radio, or the flagship Northwest Liberty News. First of all, before we get to the news, I want to report on this here. I just saw this before I came on to the show. I know some people are heading out to D.C. This is from the Hotel Harrington. I really don't know where that's at. I really haven't been to Washington, D.C. proper. Hotel Harrington, Washington's tourist hotel. Here's a statement, September 28th. Washington, D.C. has been our home for 106 years, and we join with all of our guests, visitors, staff, and neighbors in our concern and desire for everyone's health and safety. We greatly appreciate the trust our guests have placed in Hotel Harrington over the years, and we wish to continue to earn that trust. While we cannot control what happens outside of the hotel, we are taking additional steps to protect the safety of our visitors, guests, and employees. Hotel Harrington will be closed on January 4th, 5th, and 6th. We will not be accommodating guests with the exception of our long-term residents who call our hotel home. Refunds will be made for all prepaid reservations. Notifications are being sent to all reservation holders beginning today. So, to prevent people from going to the rally there in Washington, they've already stated that they're going to try to close down the city. The mayor there states that she might try to close down the city. And now hotels are not going to take reservations for people, or they're going to return, at least that in that case. Is that going to be the trend? Are all these hotels going to shut down? What needs to happen here, folks, is, in my view, we need to have very long memories when it comes to the organizations that have been anti-American, really, during this whole entire 2020 fiasco. And certainly any professional sports team that pushed the whole Black Lives Matter thing and had their names on the courts and perpetrated all that, no one ever deserves to watch them ever again. If all major sports completely ended and that not one more professional sporting event was ever played again, my life would get along just fine. As a matter of fact, I think the world would be a better place, quite frankly, if they would stop its distractions. You see, that's one of the main things that they've been using. Hollywood, movies, sporting events, award shows, tabloid magazines and paparazzi that follow the stars around and create, useless stories and storylines and drama based upon stuff that doesn't even matter. It's so inconsequential to what's going on in like the real world. Anything that goes on with any of these stars' lives in Hollywood that people get all caught up in, and TMZ and all this other stuff. I mean, understand, this is all distractions. These are all been designed to distract you, right? To divert your attention from the crimes. Let me repeat. Let me amend that. From the voluminous amount of crimes that these people have committed. Voluminous amount of crimes. Please hit the like button if you can. It helps what little exposure I do get. That helps that if you hit the like button and share the video around to folks. That'd be great. We're going to cover a couple of things in the news, but one of the main things that we have to do as a population, in my view, is we have to break the spell that we're under. Right? We've been captured seemingly, as I pointed out before. We have to break the spell that we're under right now. Right now, because we're all under, not all, but many people are under a spell, and the mainstream media, of course, they're the conjurers. They're there, with the big pot, mixing it with the putting the different stuff in, the adding the lies and the different untruths and the propaganda, and they're continuing to stir in that pot. These people are just like a witch's brew. These people are just like they're like witches, they're like goblins, for crying out loud. Some of these folks. And then basically they've been able to influence the entire nation, and mainly, a large portion of them, with lies and propaganda. But now a lot of that is ending. A lot of that is coming to an end. And, as I mentioned yesterday, trauma-based mind control. Trauma-based mind control. Look back at the MK Ultra experiments going way back, decades and decades and decades. They've known the success rate when you put someone in a trauma-based mind control scenario. Why do you think everybody's walking around wearing a mask? Why do you think? I mean, that is a direct result of trauma-based mind control. Now, people can call it, there's other different, psychological terms that you may be able to use or see different patterns that develop. And of course, we always know the problem, reaction, solution. We know that is always the Hegelian dialectic. That's one of the frameworks, of course, of everything that they do. The problem, reaction, solution, talked about it here before. And, I was thinking here this morning, I'm going to do special, I believe, and do some investigation if I can find anything worthwhile on the web these days to look into. But I'm going to discuss trauma-based mind control. I want to say that I've actually covered that before at a point. It rings a bell, but and I want to say this modestly, but I've done so many shows about so many different things that I don't even really remember specifically if I've done something about that. I seem to remember that I have. If not, I can, because it's been obviously so long ago, I can't remember it. So maybe time to do that again, because that's really what we're under here. That's one of the programs that they run. This is the reason that they do it is because it works. It's because it works. So we're finding this whole lockdown and mask thing now. They just came up with a big report yesterday. We're going to cover that and other things here. I'm going to go here to the web and check out some of the things here. First of all, from Montana Daily Gazette. Let me go here. Oh, and there's our friend Dr. Fauci. Boy, bombshell. Now this is from what, about a week ago? Not quite. 5 days ago, and we'll follow up. This is a report that was published here on Montana Daily Gazette 5 days ago. Fauci admits to lying to the public to convince them to take unnecessary vaccines. In a startling interview with the New York Times, Dr. Anthony Fauci, head of the government's coronavirus task force, admitted that he did not level with the American people about how many people would need to be vaccinated in order to achieve herd immunity, because he didn't think the public was ready to hear his true thoughts, which he feared might discourage people from getting vaccinated. I want you to let that sink in for a second. He didn't think the public was ready to hear his true thoughts, which he feared might discourage people from getting vaccinated. Okay, let me just break that down. What that really means is he's the elite. He's the establishment. You're the peasant. He tells you what to do. It had nothing to do with he was afraid that people were... Nope. He wants to be your overlord. He and all those other scoundrels in his ilk, they want to be your overlords. They want to run you and rule you. They hate you, as I stated yesterday. They hate you. He doesn't think that you, the mere peasantry, can handle the truth. So he is going to lie to you and then justify his lie. Do you see what he's doing? He admittedly lies, and then right after he admittedly lies, justifies his lie. I mean, you see it another way. Please put it in the chat room. He lies and then justifies it right afterwards. What else has he lied about? Let's think back, if we can here, for those of you who can remember. Let's think back to the O.J. Simpson trial, if we can. That debacle, right? Remember Mark Furman? He's a police detective or something, showed up on the scene, and I think he found the glove, or gee whiz, I don't know. It's been such a long time ago. But if you remember I do remember this part, that the O.J. Simpson's attorneys stated that if you catch Mark Simpson in Mark Furman, if you catch Mark Furman in a lie, if he's lied one time, you can't believe anything else that he says. Right? You have to dismiss all of his evidence. If he gets caught lying, you have to dismiss all of the evidence here in court because he's been found out to be a liar. Now, this isn't a court of law, but does that same standard apply to Fauci? If he admittedly lies, can you believe anything that he said? I mean, do you understand? This is an elitist mentality, right? In the circles that he hangs with, in the elite crowd that they hang out, they're eugenicists, right? They're mostly abortionists and largely Satanists. I'm just saying it like it is, folks. This is the way that these folks roll. So he knows better than you. So he's going to lie because of fear that you won't comply to what he thinks is the best thing for you. This is the mentality of all these scoundrels that run things. This is not just Dr. Fauci. No, not just him. It's not just he's an outlier. No. This is the norm. He's the norm. He was a great representation of most of these scoundrels. Dr. Fauci. So, big story came out that this was published last night. Wuhan Study shows asymptomatic COVID-19 patients cannot spread the virus. Not only can positive but asymptomatic patients not spread COVID-19, it turns out that it's so extremely rare to be asymptomatic that it's a statistical anomaly. Mask wearing, social distancing, and home quarantines have been perpetrated upon the world's citizens under the assumptions that those who are sick but don't realize it can still spread to the vulnerable. It turns out scientifically it just doesn't happen. That's right. Scientists at ground zero for the Wuhan flu have now discovered that the entire premise of the global lockdown has been fallaciously orchestrated and is completely unnecessary. Are you feeling played yet? Are you feeling duped yet? Are you feeling like you've been conned yet? I mean, I know it's like a punch in the gut sometimes, folks, when you finally come to that realization that it's all been a fraud, it's all been a lie, it's all been a trick, it's all been a ruse, it's all been a con to con you and everybody around you. All the lockdowns, the suicides, the businesses that have closed, the marriages that have broken up, the jobs that have been lost, the employment that's been lost. Not to mention the self-respect and esteem of people that's been, who knows if some people are going to be able to get that back. All of it for a fraud. All of it for a fraud, a con, a ruse on you and on me. Why? Why did they do all this? Well, two reasons. First of all, they want to get rid of Trump. They want to get rid of Trump. So to win an election, that's one of the things that they've done, is they've perpetrated this fraud for the mail-in ballots. So people are afraid to go to the polls. And they do the mail-in ballots, as you can see how that's turning out for them, right? What was it in Pennsylvania? 200,000 more ballots were returned than people that were even voting. 200-something thousand more people voted than even ballots were out. I mean, this is all coming to a head. This is all coming out. They can't avoid it. They cannot avoid the fact that they're cheating scoundrels. And this is as time goes on, this is going to be more and more apparent. Now, the madness that's ensuing in this whole mask thing, again, let's go back here. It shows you that this is all a fraud. This is their own study from Wuhan. Okay? Priest calls mother of 11 and praying in empty church without a mask. That's right. From the LifeSite website, LifeSite News. Priest calls police on a mother of 11 for praying in an empty church without a mask. Kansas City, Missouri. The pastor of a church in Kansas City, Missouri, or the priest at a church, calls the cops for a woman for not wearing the mask. The vicar of Christ, right? The Pope and his merry men. Folks, if your pastor has stopped having service because the government told him to, you may want to check that. I just my suggestion to you is you may want to check that. You may want to become. I would not sit well with me. But pastors have failed. Pastors have failed the nation. Largely, pastors have failed the nation. I bet there's probably 5%, maybe 10, if we're lucky, that are true biblical pastors and follow the biblical precepts of pastoring. Yeah, not many. So not only do we have the priest calls a mother of 11 for praying in an empty church, disabled child removed by police from AMC theater for failing to wear a mask. That's right. Disabled child removed by police from an AMC theater for failing to wear a mask. This is in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Did you ever think, folks, that you would live in a time where Americans would call the cops on other Americans for not wearing a mask that doesn't even work, that it says on the box it doesn't work? Don't take my word for it. Pick up a box. Pick up a box that had these blue masks. Pick it up. Look at the side. Does not protect against COVID-19. Have you seen it? Certainly you've seen this, right? It's not about protecting you from COVID-19. Nope. It's about your submission. That's what it is. It's about submission. They want you to submit. And people are. I was in a grocery store yesterday. I mean, seriously, 90% of the people were wearing masks, maybe 95%. Still wearing masks. Not I. No one says anything to me or gives me dirty looks. I mean, I'm not a small guy. That doesn't mean they wouldn't do it anyway. But I mean, I don't really pay much attention. I just kind of shake my head at them. Like, I can't believe you're just still buying this whole madness. You understand? I mean, the spell, again, as I talked about earlier. Can you see how strong the spell is on the population, folks? Disabled child removed by police. Removed by police for failing to wear a mask. Well, here's the reason for all this, and these last couple of articles here, I believe, are going to highlight what all this is about. And this is Marco Rubio, who I'm not really a big fan of. Senator Marco Rubio says the elites are tricking Americans into taking vaccines. Senator Marco Rubio slammed U.S. health officials Sunday for assuming that the majority of Americans don't know what's good for them and tricking people into doing what elites want them to do when it comes to COVID. Rubio singled out Dr. Anthony Fauci, noting that the epidemiologist has consistently misled the public. Dr. Fauci lied about masks in March. Dr. Fauci has been distorting the level of vaccination needed for herd immunity. And that is a follow-up from what our earlier story was about Dr. Fauci. Now, is this all blather? Probably. These people pop their heads up every once in a while and throw a little bit of red meat to their base to keep them, still in the news and still relevant. But when it comes right down to it, when it comes down to where the rubber meets the road, I don't necessarily think that Rubio is going to be a stand-up guy. I think he'll waffle and he will fold. That's what I think. And really, that's okay. Okay, it's okay if he folds, if McConnell folds. It's okay if Twinkle Toes, what's his name, Lindsey Graham folds. It's okay. As long as you don't fold and I don't fold and your neighbor doesn't fold, we outnumber them by millions. Do you understand? Millions. Do you know that a handful of people in Congress have managed to control 300 million and throw in the crooked governors? Under 1,000 people for sure. Under 1,000 people have managed to control 300 million. Do you understand? Has that sunk into you yet? Has that sunk in to you, to your brain yet? Has that sunk in that under 1,000 people are controlling 300 million or more? What's the population? 330 million? Give or take? I don't even know these days. Over 325 million, let's just say that safely. Under 1,000 people are controlling over 325 million. And you know why they're doing it? You know why they're doing it every day? Out in the open? It's because we are allowing them to do so. That's all we have to do. I've been saying this for years. We don't have to break out sticks, steel bars, break out our armory, load up with a bunch of weapons. But don't even have to get violent. We don't. I know you're not believe. We don't. We don't. Is that always an option? Sure. You can always go for the throat. You can always go for the throat. Remember that. Remember that. But if we just said no, we're not going to comply any longer to what you say. You're not the boss of me. We just said this. No, we're not going to comply. It's all we would have to do collectively, and it would all end like that. What are they going to do? You think 1,000 people are going to arrest 330 million and throw them all in prison? Come on, folks. Come on. Step back for a minute. Right? Take the 30,000-foot view of things. They only control us because we allow them to control us. And it starts with you. It doesn't start with the herd. Right? They want you to think that you're all part of the collective and that you have to be accepted by the other members of the collective, which they are also duping and also conning. See, they use that as social pressure. You got to comply. You don't want to be an outlier. You don't want to be away from the herd. You don't want to be shunned. What's wrong with being shunned? Do you really care what some other nitwit that's mind-controlled, drinking fluoride water, sitting around eating chips, watching Oprah? Do you really care what they think? Really? I mean, really? Enough for you to destroy your family and destroy your life and your dental work and your children's health and your self-esteem? Because of what your harebrained neighbor or someone down the block may think? Folks, the fraud is so vast and it's so deeply rooted that you gotta break free of it. You've gotta break free. It's a spell. It's a spell. These people in their $5,000 freaking suits and their $25,000 freezers with what? $18 a pint ice cream, whatever Nancy Pelosi has there. She's a clown. I hardly pay much attention to her. But they're walking around living the life of luxury, multiple homes in multiple locations, while the folks they represent apparently languish in poverty. That's right. Languish in poverty while they accumulate millions and millions and millions of dollars and more homes, inside stock trading, $16-17 million fund for sexual harassment that's been paid out, that we're not allowed to know who's had to pay out secret. When's it going to end? What do they have to do? What has to happen before people wake up? That's the question. I mean, what actually has to? I don't even know. Some of these people, I don't know if they're going to ever snap out of it. I don't know how much has to be revealed and exposed. But that's why we're doing what we're doing here, to try to wake people up. Now, if we look here, Rubio, elites tricking Americans into taking vaccines. Well, they're not tricking them here. They're making it mandatory. No tricks in New York. Mandatory coronavirus vaccine bill introduced in the New York State Assembly. And we knew this was coming. This is what it's all been about. Mandatory vaccination. That's it. That's the prize. That's the key. That's what they've been trying to do all along. It's all been about that. For your health, of course. Come on. It's for your health. You know this. Get in line. Roll up your sleeve for your health. Well, now in D.C., they passed a bill to vaccinate children without parental consent or knowledge. How do you like them apples? How do you like them apples? The bill that permits a child age 11 years or older to consent to receive a vaccine. 11. Yeah, your 11-year-old now can consent to having a vaccine. You know, because with all the life experience and acumen that an 11-year-old accumulates in their lifetime, they are certainly responsible enough to be able to make those decisions. They're going to take over everything, folks, everything, until we stand up. The people in D.C., there's what? 100 officials, maybe 80 officials in their whole machine, this whole mandatory thing. And there's what? Tens of thousands, if not how many people live in D.C. I know in D.C. proper, probably not a lot, but our surrounding areas, millions. All these people have to do is rise up and say, we ain't doing it anymore. We're not putting up with it anymore. But I don't understand why adults let other adults tell them what to do. I don't understand that. I mean, is everybody still living at home? I mean, because that's what happens when you live at home. You live under your parents' roof. I mean, that's what we're all being treated like. We can't make our own decisions. The thing is people are okay with that. That's what gets me. It's like they love their servitude. They love it. They love their servitude. So all the stuff that's going on here, everything that you see here, all the mask mandates, all the lockdowns, all that stuff, it's for this horrific, dangerous virus that is going to kill us all. Well, I'm gonna play this other. I'm gonna play the rest of this. I'm gonna play this video without comment. Folks, have you figured out yet how much they hate you? They hate you, they hate you, they hate you. Have you figured it out yet? They're dancing through the hospital floor, through the hospital, because they are so covered up with patients that they have time to make choreographed videos. And that's just one video in one place, or a series of them, and they're happening all around. All that's happening because of the pandemic. The plandemic is what it is. It's all planned. This is not by accident. It's meant to control you. It's meant to put you in your place and get you prepped for the big reset, the great reset that they have in mind. That, of course, again, is for your benefit and better health and prosperity. We know this, right? You do know this. Well, lastly, this guy seems to have got it right here. And of course, he's going to pay for it. University professor placed on leave after exposing a satanic globalist elite in an explosive letter. Fair State University professor Thomas Brennan has been placed on leave from his school after writing a letter about the COVID-19 scandemic while exposing the satanic globalist elite. I believe the COVID-19 pandemic is a stunt designed to enslave humanity and strip us of all our rights and our freedoms, Brennan wrote in his letter. And, of course, he's placed on leave for speaking the truth. Remember, the truth is always the casualty in a tyranny, folks. The truth is always the greatest casualty in any tyranny. And we're in a tyranny now. We're in a tyranny in many fronts. All we can do is continue to move forward, continue to wake people up, share videos like this and other people. There's a lot of great folks on the internet, a lot of great folks on YouTube and other platforms that do great work. Support them. Support your local people. Support good people locally. I don't know where you live, but probably Washington, D.C. is thousands of miles, if not hundreds of miles from where you are. But, you know, your city hall is probably not very far from being around the corner or down the block or on the other side of town. Certainly your state capital, you can get there. This is where the battle needs to be, folks, locally. Nothing wrong with supporting Trump. Nothing wrong with, you know, being MAGA, anything like that. But you have to act locally. You have to come together in your own community. Y'all have to stand up. Y'all have to stand up. That's the only thing that the other side understands is force. I'm not saying beating people in the head with baseball bats. It's not what I'm saying. I mean a force of numbers, right? If you come together as a force, if 50 people in your town, if you have 10,000 people in your town, right, and 500 or 1,000 of them get together, there's things are going to change. Things are going to change, but it starts with you. It starts with that person looking at you in the mirror. Thanks for tuning in today. Sorry about the earlier broadcast. Had some technical difficulties. We're going to have Terry and Mark on again tomorrow and try to get these things cleared up here today. If you want to support this broadcast, you can go to northwestlibertynews.com, montanaGazetteRadio.com, and please support our sponsor. One of our main sponsors is the Corner Shop in Kalispell. Dan Korn down there has been supporting us here for a while. Really appreciate Dan and all his work. It's a full-service auto repair facility down there in Kalispell. If you're familiar with Kalispell, you go right down around the courthouse there, and he's got all those classic cars in the front. 755-7777. That's 755-7777 is his location. And let him know that I sent you over. I talked to him last time. He goes, "Yeah, somebody came in and said they saw you on the radio. They heard about me on the radio and came in." So that's great. You know, that's great. That certainly does help the show, and we appreciate you helping our sponsors like Dan Korn out. Got a great staff there. So check it out over at right downtown Kalispell. So appreciate you looking in here. Until next time, this is James White for Montana Gazette Radio, saying bye now.